Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Elite City Podcast. It's the OGs again tonight. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Having a good time. Want to talk?
Yes.
Happy to talk about wrestling. We've got lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. It was actually like busy news week with news that hasn't really broke yet, but everybody kind of knows about it. And
Yeah, it's been a little
there.
weird. A lot of like confirmed but not confirmed news.
Right, and we'll get there. But yeah, it was a odd week, good week, but just an odd week how things have played out. Just before we get started, make sure to follow us on all social media. We are at Elite City Pod everywhere. We are also on YouTube, also at Elite City Pod. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave a comment; it helps. Please, thank you.
And we'll write back. Unless you're like just trolling, then we probably won't.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, unless you're trolling. Is it me or is Mortos like very over all of a sudden?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I shouldn't say all of a sudden. I mean, he's been putting on banger matches, but like his music hits and people are noticing. Like the crowd notices the music before they see the person. Now, he had a match against Ricochet. Probably the highlight, like for two people that I've never seen wrestle each other before, they did a heck of a job. I mean, it was a highlight reel match. That's what I was trying to spit out.
Yeah, I never would have put them together I never would have thought of having them in a match, but it was really good. And yeah, Mortos is like, it's weird because I only watch Collision occasionally. I don't watch it every week.
Okay.
And I'll watch it sometimes, or I'll watch the clips, like highlights on YouTube the next day. So I haven't seen all of his matches because I know most of his matches have been on Collision.
Yeah.
But the few matches of his that I've seen, like I already love him. I've only seen like 5 matches and I think he's great.
My I don't want to say it's a gripe, but the one thing that I always think about, I really want to know if the chains on his mask are real or not, because if someone would accidentally punch one of them, that's the only thing I think of. It's like,
yeah,
if you would like slap him and like, oh, I hit him in the chain, but they sound real.
Yeah, they do.
And if they are, oh, that's terrible. But talking about moves, when he did the avalanche press slam, I that made me nervous.
Yeah.
You know, pressing a man above your head while standing on the top rope and then just chucking him forward and jumping off yourself.
Yeah. He also did this like pop-up Samoan drop thing.
Yes.
That was super cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. That was really cool.
Oh, that's in his bread and butter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He has that pretty mastered. It's
my only thing to say on him is like, I know he wasn't going to win this match because Ricochet's new and they're hyping him up to face Ospreay, which is
right.
Fine. Like that makes perfect sense. But like Mortos needs to start beating people at some point.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you he's also on Ring of Honor, so he is winning if you watch every product. That's the only downfall. Like, you have to watch Ring of Honor, Collision, and now Dynamite if you want to get all of Mortos.
Right. And he kind of moved back and forth between like a heel and not a heel. Like, I think he's a heel, but then I think last week or so on Collision, he was kind of a face.
It's without trying to sound dumb, but it's like depends on the crowd. Like if it's a crowd that likes him, but he honestly understands it and clicks into either face or heel. It's really
and it depends on who he's facing too. Like this week he was
heel
because he was facing Ricochet. Yeah, I mean I think he's great. I think he should be.
Oh yeah,
he should be on all the time. He's great.
There's a slow internet build for him for TNT champion.
That'd be cool.
That would be fun.
I was thinking about that with the titles. I think the problem. Everyone always talks about AEW has too many titles.
Okay.
I think the problem with it right now is they're all kind of, upper mid card, except for that world title. All the rest of the titles are kind of like upper mid card titles.
Yeah.
Like Jack Perry has the TNT and Will Ospreay has the international, and they're both like upper card main event type guys. There is no I mean, even Okada, like Okada has the
Continental.
Continental, and he's an upper card guy.
Right, right.
There's no title for like, Mortos, who's not a main eventer right now, but like him having a title would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess you could say FTW, but nobody takes that seriously. I hate to say that, but
Yeah,
it's true.
and it's kind of it's always kind of hooks.
Right. And I mean, not that Hook has bad FTW matches, but
No.
maybe not even rebrand that, because Taz created that. Maybe give Taz the FTW title back and put like an introductory title for that position that you're not you're a low mid carder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought. Something like the international title or the TNT title, one of them, or the Continental. Like I thought one of them was going to be kind of like the introductory, like you're just starting to catch on.
Yeah.
And we'll reward you for your title because you're moving up the card, and we want you
Right.
to look more impressive. And maybe that's what they'll do, but they seem to always go back to putting them on top talent, which is fine. Like obviously Will Ospreay and Jack Perry and Okada all have great matches. Like that's not a problem. And
True.
I don't have a problem with them holding those belts. But yeah, there is really like Mortos isn't going to beat like Okada.
Right. Yeah, it's man, and obviously AEW has been, especially recently, like if something hasn't worked for them in the past, they don't force things.
Right.
So maybe they'll start to look at like, hey, the FTW title, like, yeah, we get where it goes with Hook, but after that, where does it go?
They kind of have to. I do think they should get it away from Hook at this point.
Yeah.
If they're going to keep it, Hook has to stop having, because right now it's kind of just Hook's thing.
I really hope Ron. I know he's probably not going to, but like,
yeah, Roderick Strong
with it would at least. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say the same thing as you. It would at least make it. It would make it at least not just Hook's belt.
Yeah, and then Hook move on from it. Like, oh, I lost it, and then Hook call out anybody else. Like, it doesn't even have to be another champion. Just like move on.
Yeah, like maybe after the match, Hook gets attacked by someone, and then starts a feud with them.
Yeah.
And then Roderick Strong takes the FTW title somewhere else and like feuds with somebody else over it. Yeah, that would work.
And it just needs to. They need some distance from each other right now.
For sure.
They need a break.
Especially because Hook's like, since Hook got it, which is like over a year ago now, he's lost it. Like he lost it to Jack Perry and he lost it to Jericho. But like he was still always involved with it.
Yeah, that's it. Just he needs to be away from it for a minute, in my opinion.
I agree.
Now going back to the Ricochet match, we all know that WWE product is not for me, so I didn't know a lot about Ricochet, which I think is fun, and I have a question for you.
All right.
Do you find it like interesting if there's somebody going from, it doesn't even have to be WWE, like someone from the indies or New Japan, like you've heard their name but you've never really seen them? Does it give you something like that back in the day feeling, like, oh man, like I don't want to say excited, but it's just like you can't wait to see what they have to offer?
Yeah,
I know you could just look up you can look up everything on the internet now, but again, I know I could look up Ricochet highlights, but I didn't. I chose to wait. Does that make me old? I guess. But yeah,
it is. I remember like being like in school and someone would show up in WWF from like WCW or someone, like even like when Ric Flair came over, I knew of Ric Flair, but we didn't get WCW that much on TV here, so I didn't really see him. So yeah, it was cool to be like, oh, this guy that I've heard stuff about, now he's going to wrestle where I can watch him. And I remember being in school and like, it's a weird memory, but it was, remember Undertaker feuded with Giant Gonzalez?
Yeah.
Giant Gonzalez showed up at like a pay-per-view, I don't remember which one, and just attacked Undertaker. And I remember the next day at school, someone being like, oh, that guy was in WCW before. And I was like, really? And it was just cool to like,
right.
Yeah, it does give you kind of that same feeling.
That's what I thought too. Like, and I know that whole time that he was in WWE, kind of looked. I mean, I knew who he was. I could have looked up his stuff, but
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. It's like when you watch. We're hockey fans. If y'all haven't figured that out by now, I know there's other teams besides the few that I follow. But when you make a trade and it's like, oh, I didn't even know that person existed. Like, but they're in the league, but just because
Yeah, I find
they're
that
not
especially with like Western Conference teams because I don't really watch the
exactly.
West.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, someone comes from they got traded from LA, and I'm like, oh yeah, I knew they were a person, but that's all I knew about them.
Yeah, it's like they're this enigma. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
we could have been watching their highlights this whole time.
Right.
But yeah, it's just fun. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun.
And
that's one of the cool things about there being, more than one big company.
Yes. And because of that, we have, well, it's not necessarily sad news, but Miro asked for his release, which I hope it's granted, because why hold somebody hostage?
Yeah, I agree. I hate when WWE does it, so I hope that Tony. I can see saying like, if somebody asks for their release, I can see not just granting it immediately because you do have contracts, so they have to mean something, right?
Right.
So I can see, talking to them, trying to come up with a plan. Maybe we'll do this. Go home and think about it. Take a couple weeks. Sure.
Yeah.
Like I can see that, and then I'll come up with some other plans. And if you don't like those, then we'll see or whatever, right? But
yeah.
And I can see being like, okay, you could leave in 2 months. Fine. Like that's fine. 3 months, whatever. But like if he has 2 years left on his deal, like that's the same thing I felt about like with Ricky Starks. Like we have no idea when his contract ends, but he's clearly still under contract and he's just doing nothing. Like maybe he's fine with that. Maybe he's happy just getting paid and not wrestling, which is cool. But if someone wants to go, don't make them sit there for 2 years.
Exactly.
Just wait.
That's just ignorant. Like, ugh.
And especially if they're good, and even if you're not like having them sit at home, even if they're going to be on TV, you're like, okay, well, you have 2 more years. You have to keep coming in.
Yeah.
Like if they're miserable and
it's not good for anybody.
Yeah, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to have good matches. They're going to be set up bad. They're going to be pain to deal with backstage. Yeah, if he wants to go, like I'm not saying Miro is any of those things.
Exactly. If anybody,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I kind of
yeah, but if anybody, you're right. If anybody wants to go, just let them go.
And if anybody had a complaint, it very well could have been Miro. I mean, the guy he's been injured, but I mean, it's kind of Sammy beat him for the TNT title, and then like he was supposed to go get his surgeries and come back, and then he came back for like a minute, and then he's been gone again. Like it was just he was for a fleeting minute he was back.
Like Miro is one of those guys who I don't know what happened. Like we're not backstage, we have no idea. You hear rumors that like he didn't want to do this, he didn't want to do that. I have no idea. I don't claim to know anything.
Right.
But like, yeah, the thing with the Redeemer when he had the team, that was super cool. Like that was
the
great.
Redeemer was awesome.
He was doing a great job, and then something happened. I don't know if he stopped caring or they stopped booking him or both. I have no idea. But it seemed like it was going somewhere, and then it went absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. But I always think of the story that you told when he first got hired by WWE, how he would take his pay-per-view money and buy a house every time.
Yeah, and apparently he owns something like 20 houses.
Yeah, and like he has all these rental properties. So I was thinking, like maybe he is that picky because he doesn't really have to go to work.
Right.
Because he's a real estate basically mogul, you know. So if it's like, oh, hey, do this, and you're just looking at it like, even if you're 80%, like, nah, that's not for me.
Yeah, I'll just wait. Maybe they'll come up with something better. Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe he wasn't like we're all assuming like he was sitting at home and being like, oh, frustrated. And maybe he was just too picky.
Right. He's just like, yeah, I'll show up when I want to. Yeah, I could see that.
And nothing against, hey, if I own 20 houses and you wanted me to jump off a 20-foot ladder for any amount of money, I would laugh at you.
Right. So I also love how like he's the one guy in wrestling who you're like, oh, he took his money and invested it properly and now is financially secure.
Yeah.
Because 80% of other wrestlers are like, they're like, in their 60s and they're still going to conventions and whatever because they just need money. Whereas he's just like, no, I made a lot of money and I bought property with it and now I'm doing well.
and he's like 40. Like
yeah.
Yeah. That is very rare. He is the enigma.
Yeah. I think he might, because of that, I think he might just be done wrestling. Like he could just be done.
And if you get, if his 20 houses, I mean, I'm sure it's more than $1,000 a piece, but that's $20,000 a month. Like,
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, if you can make enough, that's why you're working, right? Make enough money
Right.
to like retire comfortably. So yeah, if that's what he's doing, go for it. And if he goes back to WWE, go for that too. Like, hey, it's him. He can do what he wants.
Exactly. And especially on the other end of that coin, if WWE feels that, just because he's here, let's throw money at him, he should sign that contract.
Right.
But
which is the cool thing about there being more than one company.
Yes. And speaking of signing the contract, the Lucha Brothers signed with WWE. And again, is that the Lucha Brothers thing though is official, correct?
They haven't said it, but everybody else has.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not like 100% official, but it's pretty official.
Okay, that's what I was just going to warn. How we said earlier there's stories that may or may not be released yet, but they're probably true.
Right.
But good for the Lucha Brothers. The Lucha Bros went from 5 years ago, nobody knew who they were, to basically walked into WWE and had some demands like, we're not going to NXT, we want to be main roster only.
Yeah,
we have separate businesses that we would still like to run outside of here, and that was all worked out. And
yeah, and apparently they'll still get to go to Japan, not Japan, sorry, Mexico.
Right.
So yeah, good for them. I mean, it's bad from like, not bad, but it's sad from like a AEW fan standpoint because I like watching them wrestle. But good for them, like as their careers for sure.
And good for the WWE fans are going to get a treat.
Yeah.
I also know that WWE also has a problem doing well with tag teams, like historically, not just in any era. So I just hope they don't get forgot about. But that's not going to hurt them. They're very skilled at what they do.
And especially like Penta's older than Phoenix, so like I think he said in an interview like this is probably his last chance to get a super big deal. So yeah, I mean,
take it.
Wrestlers don't have super long careers, right? Most of them retire
correct
in their 50s, if that, right? So take what you can get, go for it. And that's again another reason why from all I've ever heard online, I mean, we don't know anyone, but all I've ever heard online from wrestlers talking is people complain, that maybe Triple H or Tony Khan is upset at the other company existing, or maybe the fans are upset, but like every wrestler is just like, no, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't want to go, even if you're Randy Orton and your contract runs up with WWE and you're never going to leave WWE,
right?
You can go to AEW and you could say, hey, what would you pay me? And then they tell you, and then you go, okay, well, they're going to give me this much. You have to give me more, right? So it's only helping them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is now our new baseline. Like, where the money starts. They said they're going to give me this. This is where we're starting.
Yeah, and as even fans of wrestlers, we should want them to do well because I mean, wrestlers historically have not been paid super well. So
exactly, and all this starting with these old heads talking about Tony Khan overpays everybody. Blah 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 blah. He works with people that used to work in the NFL. Like those are the people that he has around him, which AKA that salary cap. He's not overpaying anybody. You're just mad because you're not involved with the company. I'm talking about Eric Bischoff, by the way. That you weren't offered a job. Overpaying is what he did, where he overpaid and also gave them creative control.
It was the creative control that's the problem. It does not matter. I mean, especially because Tony Khan is super rich and it's a private company. He doesn't have shareholders to answer to.
Exactly.
He can essentially do whatever he wants.
Correct.
So who cares how much money he's spending? Really?
Exactly. It's his money. Exactly.
Unless he's spending more than he has, which he isn't. He's not spending billions of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who cares? Really? I like AEW. I think it's great. I hope they're profitable and successful, but like if they're not profitable and they're still running shows, that's fine to me. Like I don't have any stake in this.
Yeah, that doesn't affect my bank account at all. So I mean, let them.
I did see somewhere, I forget the percentages, so I'm gonna get this wrong. But I saw somewhere like I think it was Meltzer a while ago, like when TKO bought and when they TKO formed when they merged UFC and WWE
Uh-huh.
together. I forget the numbers, but I think he said something like UFC athletes make, something like 2 to 5% of the profits of the company on average, where in WWE is like 5%. It's not much better.
Right.
Whereas like in a football team or a hockey team or whatever, like something like half the profit goes to paying talent.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because
Whereas in wrestling, it's 5 or 10%, and the rest is just profit.
well, the rest goes to management.
Yeah.
Like, but if you think about it, like that, like if it's sports, if it's anything, like the roster or the cast, that is your product. So why wouldn't you want to pay them? You know what I mean? Like the actors in the movie, yes, they're reading lines that somebody else wrote and everything, but they're bringing that to life. They're doing
Right.
like
And
they're
there's a
the
chance
bread
that you're going to
butter.
go see that movie because they're in it. You like this
Right.
actor or whoever, so you're going to go see it because they're in it. I just thought of that. No one ever does that with the acting industry. No movie fan. Maybe I don't follow the movie industry that closely, but I don't think there's any movie fan being like, "Can you believe that they paid this actor this much money? That's too much." Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Like, it does not matter.
You know what? I'm gonna go on the docket right now, and I'm gonna file a Freedom of Information Act to see how many people actually saw Jaws in 1982.
There you go. There you go. Wrestling is weird, man. Wrestling is weird.
And so are the fans. I have a question for you. We're talking about two companies and how good it is. Who would you like to see jump ship? Either way, it could be someone from the indies going to WWE, AEW, someone from AEW to WWE.
Well, the obvious one is Ricky Starks. I think he is going to leave. And I would like to see that only because I don't know what they would necessarily do with Ricky Starks. Like Ethan Page is in WWE. Well, he's in NXT. He's the NXT champion. And like I saw him at the show that I went. He's doing fine. Right. And I guess NXT champion is at least a lateral move, if not a step up from where he was in AEW. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I want to see what they would do with Ricky Starks because Ricky Starks is a talented guy. He's a charismatic guy. He's obviously friends with Cody, so that will get you somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But is he a main event guy in WWE? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing that I always thought was his stigma and with WWE. The first time I saw him, and Adam Copeland then pointed out on national television and kind of killed his whole career, is I always like, oh, he's like the poor man's Rock.
Yeah.
So if he goes there, obviously the Rock is going to bring that up.
Right.
Like,
he doesn't have to completely change his gimmick so he's nothing like the Rock.
Right, but I mean, he even kind of looks like him.
Right.
Like, I mean, he has like he dresses like he has to go 180, and then what do you have? Like, is he like, do you make him Mankind? Like, I mean, right. I don't know. Like, that was my one thing with Ricky always. Like, I love Ricky, but
yeah, I'm not trying to take a shot at him. I'm not saying he's not like talented guy. He is.
But that was always my thing. Like, I was like, oh, he's the Indies Rock.
Yeah, but there would be a time when he'd have to face off with the actual Rock, and then what do you do?
Because I mean, he couldn't take it when Adam Copeland called him the poor man's Rock.
Right.
Like, imagine what the Rock would say to him. Like, oh, you made a whole career being basically me. Right. And like, and there's nothing you could say to that because it's true. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And then going the other way, I thought it's another one that's been rumored is Kevin Owens is rumored to go to AEW, and I can
see that too.
I get the argument people have of like, oh, AEW is, and I think this is true. This isn't even a knock on AEW or the knock on the fans who say it. AEW kind of is like the young guys and then the older guys. And I can see a lot of the middle guys, like, guys in like their 30s or 40s.
Oh, yeah.
30s probably. They end up in WWE because they're like, hey, I want to try it, or they're paying me a lot, or I've always wanted to be there. Like, that's, and like, I think that is kind of true. AEW has a lot of very young guys, and AEW has a lot of guys closer to the end of their careers. But the middle guys, middle ages, not middle age, but like
yeah,
middle ages as a wrestler. are in WWE, which it's kind of true. I read about that today, and it is kind of true. But like that's cool too. Like I like the idea of Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, starting off in ROH and building himself up, and then he goes to WWE and does great stuff there. Like he's done
he's
super
had
well
WrestleMania moments, and he was world champion. Like,
and then he gets to go to AEW and do something different, and like that's cool. Like I would like, and he would fit in perfectly.
And all those people are his friends, so like. Not only do you get to go back and everybody obviously will know who you are, but also the back locker room. Like those are all your old buddies. Those are all
like it is like Adam Copeland being like, I want to finish my career with Christian.
Right. Oh, which
like if he wants to hang out, if he wants to hang out with like the Young Bucks and stuff, that would be cool.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. I'm pretty sure if Owens goes, Zayn's going too.
Yeah, I think they kind of go with one another.
And can you imagine? Like, I've been thinking about this. Can you imagine you keep this dead secret, and then all of a sudden, Ole from the Bouncing Souls comes on at Wembley Stadium, and you have 70,000 people, and El Generico debuts at Wembley.
Nice, that'd be fun. He'd be great. He's like,
yes, he would be AEW.
he's the kind of guy who, I mean, again, he's done well for himself in WWE.
Absolutely.
Taking knocks on him, like he's done great. But he is the kind of guy who wrestles a perfect style for AEW. He's the perfect kind of character for AEW. He could be a face, he could be a heel, he could be a underdog. He's like kind of not wrestling wise, like not in the same type of wrestler, but he always reminded me kind of like Bryan Danielson. He can be a face, he can be a heel, he can be an underdog, he can be a champion. He can kind of do it all.
And again, everybody will know that it's him, but he's not going to be Sami Zayn he's 100% going to be Generico. Oh, it's going to be so good.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And going on with the undeclared news, the TV deal supposedly, or not supposedly, Tony Khan said that Dynamite and no, he said, the exact quote was AEW is not leaving TNT and TBS anytime soon.
Right.
So,
he even said, I can say with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
AEW and TBS are here for a long time.
And with that, we learned that there's more than likely going to be a new show titled Shockwave, which also looks like it could be going to a different network.
Yeah, apparently there's two TV deals now.
Yeah.
There's the TBS, TNT, and True TV, which I think Meltzer says True TV will be like either just a replay of Collision and Dynamite or like a recap show. They'll just have a show that's a recap. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And then Dynamite and Collision obviously would stay. And then Shockwave apparently is part of a third deal, potentially with a Fox network, which would be cool.
Would be super cool. That is just insane. Like, I mean, it makes sense, when, again, we always talk about Tony Khan and pro sports. Like, the NFL is on multiple networks. It literally competes with itself every Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, WWE is on multiple networks now, right? So.
Right. So why not have, I mean, I'm sure that's a pain in the butt tax wise, but Tony Khan's not doing the taxes. I mean, you know what I mean? He doesn't care. Yeah, why not have multiple deals? And
so what do you think? I mean, we'll talk about two things. First of all, what do you think Shockwave will be? And before we talk about that, the rumor is with the introduction of Shockwave, it means the end of Rampage.
And I could totally. Eventually you're going to run into, too much TV.
AEW
so something has to go.
Shows. And like, there's no way they could have 4 shows.
Right.
That's too many shows.
Yeah. I mean, unless one would be like a YouTube show. But like actual television, 4 is way too many. Yeah. I mean, it was inevitable. Was Rampage
kind of turned into what Sunday Night Heat was after SmackDown came out. Like Sunday Night Heat was WWE's second show, and then they got SmackDown, and then Heat became like the
Like he's an
not a jobber
afterthought.
show, but like a lower card afterthought type show. And that's what Rampage is. And it's weird thinking about it because Rampage, like, that's where CM Punk debuted. Like, that show was so big that they did it there. And then now it's just like Rampage is fine. But like it's not a show that I go out of my way to watch.
I used to watch it, and then like, well, once Collision started, it kind of slid, and then it started to pick up again recently. Like I've been recording it, but I still really don't watch it. But it's got off that slide of being bad. I mean, I don't want to see saying bad is not the right word because
it was never bad, but
they were just matches. There was no storylines. There were no segments. There was no.
Right.
You know,
and
it
was
just
matches that weren't really in service of anything. They're not even guys who were feuding. It was just like these two people are wrestling.
Right. So it was like, but yeah, like it was inevitable that,
and I mean, that time slot is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. 10 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, when you're shooting for a target audience of 20 somethings, they are not sitting at home watching wrestling.
That's a bad time slot because all the younger people are going to be out doing something, and all the older people are not staying up till 11 o'clock to watch
wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking about Shockwave though. Where would you put Shockwave? Because it can't be Wednesday, obviously.
Right.
It's not going to be Monday, even though WWE is going to be on Netflix. It's still on Monday.
True.
It's not gonna be Friday earlier because that's SmackDown.
Well, that's a good point. Maybe Monday would make perfect sense because there would no longer. Well, no, he couldn't be on Monday because NFL.
NFL's on Monday. Yeah, and NFL's on Sunday.
Right.
NFL's on Thursday too, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it is. Yeah. So he's
limited. Collision's on Saturday, so you can't do that.
So he's limited to Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Tuesday night Shockwave.
I mean, NXT is on Tuesday, but not to say NXT is not a competitor, but it's not Raw or SmackDown. So if you're gonna go against someone, you'd rather put it against NXT than Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, and unlike the NFL, he's not going to put it up against himself. Like,
right.
He's not a juggernaut like the NFL where 52 million people are watching both games.
Right.
That's
what do you think Shockwave will be like though? Because it can't be just Rampage because what's the point then in getting a new show if it's just going to be the same show? And I'm assuming that if it's part of a separate TV deal, they're going to put some more attention on it.
Well, what I have read that it's probably going to be FS1.
Right.
As opposed to just Fox, because I mean that's
so FS1 is like it's like a cable channel or
I think FS stands for Fox Sports. I'm not 100%. And it's like they play like a lot of off sports. Like there's a lot of Formula One. Not that Formula One's a bad sport. I just don't watch it. There's like a lot of Formula One. I think they have Premier League soccer, but it's like I don't see how wrestling fits into it. It's basically a bunch of like European sports.
Right. I know that they would occasionally air SmackDown when SmackDown got bumped off Fox.
Okay.
Fox was like airing something like a football game or a basketball. Well, I don't know what Fox airs, but there were a couple times when Fox was airing something, and then it would get bumped off to FS1. And I know the ratings would tank, but I don't know if that's because nobody watches FS1 or because nobody knew it switched channels.
Oh, well, and people might not get it. Like that's the other thing. Right. I don't know I know it's a cable channel, but I don't know regionally how it would pan out. That's an interesting one.
And I was thinking today that they obviously wouldn't have the TBS, the TNT titles on that show ever.
True. Yeah, you couldn't.
You couldn't. So what would they like? What are they? I'm very intrigued as to what it's going to be because I don't think it'll just be Rampage, like a new version of Rampage, because you're not going to sell it to another network and be like, oh yeah, this is just going to be our third rated show. Why would they? Pay money for that, right? So, but I don't know. Is it going to be like? It's not going to be another live show. Like it's not going to be like a Collision or a Dynamite.
Like the only thing that I can think of, like, what if it be Ring of Honor?
Yeah.
But again,
I know Tony Khan was talking about how he thinks Ring of Honor might do better if it was called AEW Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I did see that also. But like I was just gonna say, the only thing with that, which would be great, is like how would that work as opposed to like would they have to totally could they piggyback off of AEW is what I'm trying to spit out here.
Right.
You know,
I mean, that was the problem with trying to get a TV deal for ROH is Warner Brothers didn't want ROH.
Right. That's
to them, no one knows what ROH is, right? So AEW is obviously the bigger brand.
So yeah, if they would change it to AEW presents Ring of Honor. I mean,
AEW
I don't know.
presents Ring of Honor Shockwave, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know how you would do it.
But I feel like it wouldn't at least start off like Rampage started off. We talked about Rampage started off as not a lesser show. Like Rampage started off with,
right.
Kenny Omega against Christian for a title, and then the next week was CM Punk. Like they pushed it obviously. So they're not going to start it off as like a third string show, but I don't think it's going to be live. So I don't know what they're not going to 2 or 3 different shows in a week. Like no offense to AEW, but they're already not selling tickets for the first 2.
That's what I was just going to say. You can't have 3 separate tours going on. Like just with moving stuff that doesn't make sense. So it's going to be interesting what it is.
I really wonder what it's going to be. I've always wanted, and I think it'd be perfect for Ring of Honor. I've always wanted them to do like what they did in Arlington when they had the residents, or what ECW used to do, or when Monday Night Raw first started and it was always in the Manhattan Center. I always kind of want them to rent out a small arena that holds a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people, and just have shows there. And like don't travel. That's just your show. And I think that would be really cool.
Oh, that was awesome what they did in Arlington, but
it was.
But watching it, the only thing that sucked is I understand they had X amount of TV to record and they only were there for so long, but you knew when they were at the tail end of recording because there'd be like 9 people there.
Right.
Because they were there for 7 hours, like
yeah, they shot like a ton of Ring of Honor there and stuff. Yeah, so
so it was like I get it, but it came off bad on TV. Like if you could somehow like when they did when it was at Daly's place, they'd record one, they'd cycle the people out. Now again, I know Tony, they have a stake or they own that, or but during the those days, like they would bring them in and they'd cycle the new crowd in, so your crowd was always like the wrestlers might have been tired and filmed 4 episodes that day, but at least the crowds were always
you'd have to film them as 4 separate shows.
A
complete new audience every show. Because,
and again,
otherwise, even if they don't leave, even if the crowd stays for the whole thing, by watching 4 hours of wrestling, they're going to be tired.
That's the only thing. It just comes off bad. Like you can't do it in blocks, but you almost have to.
Right.
You have to find that middle ground of, I always thought like, if there was a company like before AEW existed, I don't know why like TNA or any of the small companies that came up and faltered and just failed tore college campuses. Like if Ring of Honor did that, like just go to college campuses. They all have arenas. Like, you can go to a small. I mean,
WCW did that for a while, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it gives the kids something to go to. They're freaking college kids. So, sell some beer. They're going to get drunk, have fun.
Charge them basically nothing to get in. Yeah,
exactly. And your crowd's going to be nuts. And I never understood
too, like that. They don't have, I mean, obviously logistically it's a bit harder than going to campuses, but you thought how there's like, summer concert festivals all over the place. Piggyback off one of those and like, your tour goes around the country and then piggyback with them and have a wrestling show in a parking lot or in a field or something, and people would show up because they're already there. So anything to get an
That's a hell of
audience,
an
right?
idea.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a heck of an idea. The one thing that I've noticed that hasn't come out of this deal yet is any of the semantics on the streaming. Have you heard anything?
No, I know even Meltzer was just like, well, the rumored fee is $170 million or something, right? Is it million? Yeah, 170 million per
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And Meltzer was saying, like, if that doesn't include pay-per-views and streaming, that's a great deal for them. Like, that's a lot of money, obviously. He was
Yeah.
saying that if it does include, like, if that includes streaming, because we don't know all the details yet, if that includes putting the pay-per-views on Max or whatever, then it's not a great deal because AEW makes a bunch of money off their pay-per-views. So the thinking is it's probably a separate deal, not this deal, because AEW does they'd have to make that money back. Like they're charging $50 a show right now, and even if 100,000 people buy it, that's a lot of money, right? So they'd have to make that back probably in a separate deal, where I don't know if it would be like what WWE does, where you sign up for the service, like on Peacock, you get the pay-per-views just by signing up for Peacock. Or would it be a separate tier? You have to sign up for like the live sports tier or something, and then you get the pay-per-views, or you have to order them through Max and they're cheaper, but you still have to pay. I don't know.
All that makes, sense. I mean, what we're kind of in uncharted territories here with, streaming exists, but nobody has really perfected it yet. So
I do think they kind of have to have it because everyone has it.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. Everybody has
getting
it.
Getting people to pay $50 a month. Maybe it's working now, but I don't think that's a sustainable thing. Like, it seems to be working now because they sell a lot of pay-per-views. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But like everything's on streaming now. Every sports leagues are getting on streaming services now. Like everything's on a streaming service now. So they kind of have to be.
Yeah. And just to have a place like, back in the day, you sold video cassettes and DVDs and stuff. Like now, like people don't want to collect things for the 50th time on, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Streaming's nice because everything's there. If you subscribe, it's all there. You don't have to start a collection. You don't have to worry about, I have 1, 2, and 6, I need 3, 4, and 5.
And if they worked out a deal where like the biggest problem I have with streaming services is stuff disappears sometimes, right? Like you watch a show and it's on Netflix, and then Netflix loses the rights to it, and now it's just not on Netflix anymore. And now you're like sometimes another streaming service picks it up, sometimes no one does it, or sometimes it's just gone, right? So if they negotiated a proper deal with Max, where like, no, all of our stuff is going to be here for X number of years, then you would know. It would be nice to have a central place for all their things, as opposed to right now when they talk about, here's where you can buy the pay-per-view. It's on YouTube or DAZN or also on Fight or Triller, and it's also on like this. Excalibur names like 10 different ways to watch it. Like, it would be cool if it was just, it's all on Max. You just go there.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like we said earlier, this stuff, it's not confirmed, but the streaming thing with Max is probably going to happen. I mean, where else would they go? I mean,
especially if all their right. I mean, right now their pay-per-views are through Bleacher Report, which is a Warner Brothers network, a Warner Brothers service. So
I didn't even realize that.
If all their shows are going to be on, except for Shockwave, if all their main shows are going to be on Warner services, why would their pay-per-views not be as well?
Exactly.
I mean, it could be something like when WWE went to Peacock, and WWE network was its own thing, and basically Peacock pays them every year to run it instead, right? So instead of you setting up your own service, they just give you they bought WWE Network essentially and are airing it on Peacock. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Interesting. It is. Now, with that, you brought up a good question. Is are we starting to see the end of the special dynamites now? Where,
because like we're gonna talk about Grand Slam, but like next year Grand Slam is a pay-per-view. It's the pay-per-view from Australia, and I think that's the right call, because every year, like Grand Slam, the first Grand Slam, like the hype for the first Grand Slam when it was the Kenny Omega Danielson match, like the hype for that was like off the charts. I saw someone posted a clip. It was, I think, 3 years ago today, that show. And someone posted a clip of that opening of that match. That was the first match on the card. And like the crowd was going crazy before anything happened. Like that show was so hyped up. I remember being super hyped for it.
Oh yeah. And it was their first like stadium show. Like,
right.
You know, Arthur Ashe is a stadium, you know, that's.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you obviously can't get that every year because you can only do your first stadium show once.
Right.
But it does feel less of a big deal with every coming year, and not just Grand Slam. Yeah. Every show does. Like, remember they used to have Winter is Coming, and they used to have Beach Break and like St. Patrick's Day, whatever. And like,
I was gonna say, we used to joke like when there wasn't one because it was like every week for 2 months it was something. I'm sorry. Good.
And when they had those though, like, you knew, oh, that was going to be a good show. Like the 5th anniversary that's coming up, that's in Pittsburgh that you're going to. You know that's going to be a big show because they're hyping it up that way. But like all of these shows, even Blood and Guts, like it feels a little bit less special than it used to. And I think you can see that from like the ticket sales of the shows. Like, I know we don't talk about ratings and like ratings are one thing because people don't watch TV as much anymore. So I don't know how much that affects, but like ticket sales are ticket sales. Right. So if I saw like the first Grand Slam, like 20,000 people went to, and the second one, like 15,000 people went to, and the third one, 10,000 people. And now they're down to like 8,000, which is still a ton of tickets. I can't sell 8,000 tickets to anything. So like, like I'm not knocking. I'm just saying they're less special than they used to be. So kind of, I'll miss them. I was always really cool when they had a special Dynamite. Yeah. But if they're going to have, 10 or 12 pay-per-views a year, they can't also have shows.
And they will still do like the special, like Tony Khan loves like that nostalgic, how there's always a show like Thanksgiving Eve. Like he likes that tradition.
He loves those traditional things. I do miss when they had like special themes to them. Like Beach Break had a theme, or like Winter is Coming had a theme. Like the show felt a little different. The graphics were different. The stage was a bit different. That was kind of cool.
They were
like that.
They were like mini pay-per-views. Like sometimes they would have like set dressing and all that. They were it was like a mini pay-per-view. I'm gonna miss them.
I'm gonna miss them too.
Yeah.
But it does make sense if you're gonna have a pay-per-view every month. You're not also gonna have one of those.
Exactly.
But I will miss them. They were fun shows.
Yes, they were. Well, we know a little bit about Grand Slam, so we're gonna go over what we know. And just before we finish up, just go over what we know with the card here. So, we have Mox versus Darby for the number 1 contendership. I don't know. I'm interested in this match, but something's going to happen. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I love this Mox and whatever the BCC is called now. I love this angle that they're doing. I think it's great. It's like the right amount of like threatening but mysterious. I think they're doing a really good job with it. I do think they kind of rushed the Darby thing, because it was like Darby's facing Danielson. Oh wait, no, we murdered Danielson. Now he's facing Mox. Like it was a little. It was like, I get it, but it felt a little weird. But you're right, something's gonna happen. I don't think I think Mox is gonna win, because I think Mox versus Danielson is gonna be like the Wrestle Dream match. Like I've seen previews for it already, and they're kind of hinting, like they have a video preview for it that's kind of hinting that that's what it's going to be, because it's like, oh, Danielson reached his career peak and then he was attacked by his former friend. Like I think that's the angle they're going to take, and that's what works. Like I'm not
absolutely
that's cool. I think Mox is going to win, but I don't think Mox is just going to win. But I don't know what's going to happen.
See, I have a theory, and I changed the theory from my old theory. So
all right.
Somehow I agree with you. Mox beats Darby for number 1 contendership. Somehow, I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're somehow going to get Darby is going to win Christian's contract, and Darby is going to cash in and beat Mox.
Because that would be cool, because it's in not in Seattle, but
Right. Oh, it's in
area.
Washington.
It's in
Yeah.
the Washington State area. So yeah, that would be cool.
Well, because I was thinking of this, like Danielson, he loves wrestling and he loves like the tradition of wrestling. Usually, when it's someone retires, they kind of pass the torch. If Mox beats him, they're basically the same age. He's not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Mox is going to be retiring sooner rather than later. So
Yeah.
I could see Danielson wanting a young person involved in, maybe Mox does beat him, but Mox doesn't get the championship at the end of the night.
Or like, maybe not like a cash in, but Darby does something to get involved. Like that, that maybe the show ends with Darby's obviously the next guy.
Yeah, like something like they're gonna get Darby. I don't want to say over because he's over, but they're gonna elevate him.
Yeah, I think Danielson would be fine losing and not necessarily putting over the next guy if it puts over the next storyline. Right, like him losing. Him losing to Mox puts over a storyline of him Mox against Darby or Mox against whoever, and I think Danielson would want that. He would want his his end of his career to like be a story.
Yeah, and it's that's a good point. I can see that. The tag championships are also on the line. Bucks versus Fletcher and Ospreay. And I've been saying this, we're obviously getting United Empire, but they showed that on Dynamite.
Yeah, that was a little odd that they did that. I get why, because they want to make Takeshita annoyed.
Yes.
But I was surprised they did it on Dynamite.
I'm just like, if they signed the rest of United Empire, my head would fall off. Like it wouldn't even explode. It would just fall off at the neck and roll on the floor. Like
I want to say two things about that match. One, I love this Takeshita feeling kind of scorned, but like no one really did anything wrong, so he's not gonna like be that mad, but like he's annoyed.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think that's gonna. I want to see Takeshita versus Okada. I want to see Takeshita versus Ospreay. I want Takeshita to win all the titles. I think Takeshita's awesome, and he should get everything.
Also agree.
And the other thing I want to say is, I make fun of them a lot, but I want to give the Bucks credit. That match was great.
It was
the main event on Dynamite. It was a great match. It was what I want from the Young Bucks. They weren't like cheesy over the top. Like they were still annoying jerks. Like that's what they are, and that's cool. Like I mean, that's what they are in character, and like not as
right.
But like they were still annoying jerks. They were still like cheating and being obnoxious, but like they weren't being like looking at the camera or like taking 5 minutes to set up a spot or like joking around. Like we know this isn't real. Like that's the stuff that they do that I hate. But they weren't doing that. Like that was a good match. That was their best match since they started with his EVP thing, I think.
It was so good.
It was a really good match. I liked all of it. I liked everyone in it. Like obviously the 6 guys in it was going to be a good match.
Yeah.
But it made me want to see this tag match. I think the Bucks are going to win. I don't think Fletcher and Ospreay are going to win the titles. But it made me want to see the match.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win the titles, but I think this whole thing with United Empire, I think Mark Davis returns.
Yeah, I think Mark Davis returns. I think Takeshita does something. I think maybe he screws them or something. Maybe they're about to win it and he gets fed up being like he thinks that should be him or something and he does something. I don't know, but
he's so awesome.
And somehow it has to get us a Takeshita Okada one-on-one match somehow. I don't know how, but I want to do it.
See, I think Takeshita wins the C2 this year.
Oh yeah.
And that's how we get that feud.
That would be cool.
I can't even wait. The next match I did not even realize was like how they're not marketing this match blows my mind.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was like I'm not saying it came out of nowhere, like there's a storyline attached to it, but I didn't know it was happening.
Right. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya. Again, this is the first I've heard of it when you sent me the card this afternoon. I was like, wow.
I think I saw a graphic for it like on AEW social media. They're really bad at that. That they just put a graphic on like their Instagram or their Twitter and like assume that that's enough. When like no, like you have 3 TV shows. You could talk about them a little bit on those TV shows.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what Shockwave's gonna be. It's just gonna be a news show. This is
I would
Renee
watch that.
Renee and RJ like CNN. They just sit there with their
I would watch
notes.
that.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, of course, this match is going to be great. It's obviously there's some built-in history there. I've been feeling bad for Saraya lately.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want to like I hate to say it, but like the I almost called him the Riot Squad, not Riot Squad. Outcasts.
Yeah.
The Outcasts seemed to fall apart when Ruby left.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand, like, Ruby didn't leave. Ruby's gonna have a child. I made it sound like you're
when Ruby left TV. Yeah.
Yeah, when Ruby left TV. Yeah, I made it sound like she just quit the business. It just seemed like it really just lost all its traction. And again, no disrespect to Ruby Soho here, but I didn't even think she was like that much of a player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Kind of holding them together, yeah.
Yeah, like she obviously was doing something there.
Though I do like Saraya and Hardy Cameron. They're funny.
They're great together. They are great together.
And Saraya's found like a comedic angle that she didn't have before that I really like. I think she's doing a great job. I love when she like walks around yelling at fans when she's like outside the ring.
Yeah.
She does a great job. Yeah, but you're right. I do feel kind of bad for her because she came in with like, and it's not all her fault. She came in with a bunch of hype, and then you get all the same people who are like, man, they're mad because when anyone shows up, you have a segment of the audience, especially if it's a woman, you have a segment of the audience who's going to immediately jump all over you and call you whatever. And then obviously she can wrestle, but I can't think she can't wrestle all the time. I think she has a series of health problems where she can't necessarily be a full-time wrestler, which I understand.
Yeah.
And it does seem kind of like she's kind of lost. I don't know. I don't watch Rampage. I think she's on Rampage a lot. And I don't watch Rampage, so
same.
Maybe I'm missing something, but
yeah, and like I don't know, like I said, the match is obviously going to be good, but
yeah,
they need to put together. Me and you talked about this week on Dynamite. Their video packages were like heads and tails better than they have been.
Yeah, they were good in this like editing wise and creative wise, but I also like they weren't super long. They were like a minute, but they kind of told you everything you needed to know in that minute, and they were really good. Like, yeah, you're right. They need to do one for them.
They need to do one for this like tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and then
that is. I don't want to go on a long tangent, but that is a weird thing about AEW. Go. They have so much TV time, but there's still stuff they don't put on TV.
Also true.
Like they don't explain stuff, or they don't. I know WWE over explains things, right? So maybe they want like, oh, we don't have to tell the audience everything. They can look it up. They can. Like obviously I can. But also people are busy, and I don't necessarily always have the time or remember to look up AEW social media. So yeah, put it on one of your 3 TV shows and have just a little video. Like, go for it.
Yeah. The trios belts. The trios champions are gonna have a match, but we do not know against who. I take it there's gonna be a match tomorrow night. Oh, we're recording this Friday, by the way.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm guessing Collision's gonna have a match. I have no idea. They haven't said anything. I don't think.
Again, communication from AEW. Spot on.
I like what they did on Dynamite. I like, first of all, the rest of the guys trying to bully Yuta into joining them.
Yes.
I thought that was cool. Being like, you still have this title, Yuta. You better be here. And Yuta being like, fine, you want to mock me? I'm going to show up and I'm going to wrestle. Like, I thought that was cool. That was good. I like them beating up Private Party. That was fun. I like them just attacking them and just like brutalizing. Like, that was cool. Like that worked. But it is kind of weird that we don't know who they're facing.
Yeah. And Wheeler's the wild card here. And this goes to depends on who they're facing. If they're gonna face a legit, like if it's like House of Black or like the Bang Bang Gang, I'm guessing that Wheeler turns on Claudio and Pac and causes them to lose the titles.
Yeah.
As like a FU.
Yeah.
But if it's like if it's Private Party and somebody else,
Or like,
like
what's Dante Martin's team called now?
Top Flight with
Yeah, but
Action Ends
what
Ready.
do they have a name of the three of them? Or are they just Action
No,
Ends
it's
Ready
just
and Top
Top
Flight?
Flight with Action Ends
All
Ready.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
them, like I like them, but they're probably not going to win.
Yeah. So, like I just hope it's not that. Like it'll be a good match, but I don't want to kind of know the end.
Yeah. So what do you
And
think of the trios titles, like where they are?
it's the trios titles are the double-edged sword of AEW. It depends who has it or them, excuse me. When House of Black had the trios titles and they had the House of Black rule and
That was cool.
it was awesome. Then I mean, it was funny when the Bang Bang Gang had them and then all had they just carried around 27 belts. I just laughed at the fact that it was absurd and they carried around all the belts.
That was really weird because they merged them
Right.
with ROH 6-man belts and then they unmerged them and then they had Jay White give the title to Juice Robinson. And then they said, no, you can't do that. But then they were still in a match for the titles. They could have just kept them. It was all very weird.
It was.
Who was the ROH 6-man belts now? It's Dustin and
Dustin
Sammy. No, Dustin and the
Von Erichs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I get why Tony Khan wants to have trios champions because that's a very New Japan Japanese thing.
And Mexico, I think it's
Mexico too. Yes. Yeah. And as me and you have stated a million times, it makes sense until you have
and the matches are usually good. Like the trios matches are good. Like I'm not knocking them.
Yeah, it's good until you put tag teams in the trios division.
Yeah. I saw two things about this. Well, three things I want to talk about, but I saw two things today online. It was someone on Reddit. I didn't write them down. I didn't write it down who they were. Awesome. But they were saying two things. The trios titles were really cool, but then like the Acclaimed had them and that kind of killed them. Right? Like they were super over and that kind of killed them.
Yeah.
Like House of Black kind of hasn't done anything since losing the trios titles. Bang Bang Gang hasn't really done anything. Like it seems like teams win them and it's cool, and then like they lose them and they're just dead.
True.
Like it's weird how that happens. It's very weird. So what I did see someone say, which I thought was interesting, and I want to see what you think, is someone said the problem is that it kind of kills the tag division, right? Like there's tag teams in the trios division, or there's trios who now have two of them going for a tag team title. Like they kind of conflict with each other. What if the tag titles were like the main event title and the trios titles was just like a mid-card act title? Like the the Bang Bang Gang or House of Black wouldn't go after the trios titles because they're like no one says this is a mid-card title, but it just becomes one. It is where like Top Flight and Action and Ready can win it.
Yeah.
Or Private Party or somebody. And then the tag titles would be like kind of more prestigious.
I love that idea. That's a great idea. And it gets more people on TV.
Yeah.
It excuse me. It gets more people on TV and gets more people like a little bit of an opportunity to shine. Like you brought a Private Party. Again, nothing against them, but you give them a belt and a little bit more TV time every week. Maybe there's something that we haven't seen yet. You know what I mean?
Because there's so many big tag teams in AEW. There's the Bucks, there's FTR, there's like big name tag teams that like Pirate Party probably won't take the titles from any of them. But like if they had the trios titles, that would be cool. And they've given them something to do, and it would kind of separate the belts a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said from the beginning, that tag teams should not have been allowed in the division to begin with. Because
I think it should have been like a faction thing, not a tag team plus another guy. There's a lot of like, Top Flight plus Action Ready or Private Party plus someone. It's a lot of like a tag team plus one guy. Is going after the tag titles, and that's a little weird. The trios titles, sorry, that's a little weird. But I remember when they first announced the trios titles and they were talking about the tournament and whatever. And I remember we were talking, being like, oh, there's so many teams that could be in this. There could be like, CM Punk and FTR. They could be the BCC. And then like none of those teams were in it. It was just a bunch of like tag teams with an extra guy. And it's like, oh yeah, obviously the Elite was going to win that, and they were going to face the Lucha Bros because none of those other teams were going to win. Right? So they've been weird kind of since day one.
Yeah, they really have been. Wow, that seems like it happened like 2 minutes ago, and you just said that, and we just talked about the Lucha Brothers. Like they've had a contract expire, and now they're at another company. CM Punk got fired. Like
most of the teams I talked about are no longer in AEW. Like
yeah. Wow. But I like the separating them and making the trios titles a, as you said, quote unquote, lower tier title.
How you have like a main event men's title, a main event women's title, and then you have like the TNT or the TBS title, which is no one says this title is worse.
Right.
But it's clearly the second tier title.
Yeah, like the TNT or TBS title is never going to main event a pay-per-view over there. It's like the semi-main event is going to be the world title, and then the TNT title be the main event. Never happened.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. Speaking of world titles, the women's world title, the Glamour Mariah May versus Yuka Sakazaki. Again, you probably know who's going to win this one. Is
nothing this against Yuka Sakazaki, but she's not winning the belt?
No, 100% not. Are we finally going to see the return of Toni Storm?
Yeah, I don't know, because now Mariah May says she's not going to do her championship celebration without Mina.
Right.
And that I like that angle. I think that's when Toni Storm shows up. She wrecks that.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully that's in Pittsburgh.
So yeah, it might be. I mean, she might, because it's the fifth anniversary of Dynamite. Maybe they'll do it. I mean, they've already booked Ricochet Ospreay, so they're clearly taking it seriously.
I can't even think about that. Anyways.
Yeah, I think that Toni Storm's going to show up for the celebration, and she's going to wreck it.
Yeah. I mean, this match is going to be good, but
yeah,
we know how. Just like the main event. Now, the main event, Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness, literally have been waiting for this match for like 15 years, 17, whenever the last they wrestled. It's going to be a magical moment for me.
Nice.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. This is the precursor. I'm just telling you right now. This will be the greatest wrestling match you have ever seen in your life.
This one is interesting because I've been meaning to watch their other matches. They have 2 other matches, right? 2
Correct.
other big matches.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been meaning. I know one of them's on YouTube, on our ROH's channel has it like for free on YouTube. I don't know where the other one is, but I'll find it. This is interesting because I've always heard about the 2 of them. The Nigel McGuinness's career has been strange in the sense that he got signed to WWE and then was unsigned from WWE and kind of just never went back there. But then he was on commentary. Like, it's been very strange. So like the build up to this, I don't want to say there's been no build, because he's been making fun of Danielson on commentary for a year. And I think they wanted to do it at Wembley last year and couldn't because Danielson was hurt, which kind of sucks for Nigel McGuinness, but still. The build for this, the specific build for the match has been weird, that they're like, Danielson's dead, he's not going to wrestle.
Yeah.
And then McGuinness is like, he's going to wrestle me. Maybe. Like, it's weird how they built it up. The match, I'm sure, will be great. Like that weird build of like, he might not even show up. Like, he is going to show up.
Yeah.
But because they haven't, I think they're protecting themselves because they haven't actually said the match is going to happen. Right. So if they officially said the match was going to happen, the hype around it would be huge because of what they've done in the past and how long it's been since they've wrestled. And I think by not actually saying it's going to happen, obviously they're hinting that it's going to happen. They had a video package for it. Like, they're planning on having it happen. But I think they're kind of protecting themselves because Danielson is injured. Like, he said he needs neck surgery. And McGuinness hasn't wrestled a full actual match in I don't know how long. I think they are protecting themselves, that if they start and like 5 minutes in something happens where they can't continue and just have to end the match in 5 minutes, at least they didn't hype it up as like this epic thing.
True.
So you can't actually be mad because they said it might not even happen. I think they're kind of protecting themselves. Not that I'm thinking it's going to be a bad match, but just in case it is, they kind of have a built-in fail-safe for like, if this doesn't work out, we have a back. We've explained it.
That's awesome. I never even thought of it that way.
I did actually see someone say that part of the reason they did the cash-in thing with Christian, like why he has that contract, is they are slightly worried. I don't know if this could all be storyline. This could just be Danielson working. I have no idea.
Right.
But they are slightly worried that Danielson like is injured and can't wrestle full time, and rather than having him drop the title, if it turns out he can't wrestle, they could have Christian come in and quickly roll him up.
Oh.
Then he wins the belt.
Right. Hey, so that makes sense too, though.
That's kind of the fail safe there. But this all could just be Danielson working, right? Like maybe he doesn't need neck surgery. I have no clue, right? So he's like an old school kind of guy who I could see lying about the status of his neck to build it into a storyline. So this is going to be fun. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how much time they're going to give it. I think it'll probably my thought was it'll start the show, because if it ends the show and there's 20 minutes left in the show, you're like, oh, this match is going to go 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If it ends the show and there's only 5 minutes left, you're like, oh, they're only going to do a 5-minute match. So I thought it might start the show so that you don't know what's going to happen. But I could also see them kind of teasing throughout the night, is Danielson going to show up?
Oh, that's they could definitely pull that. Oh, I never even thought of that. Man, my theory was like boring compared to yours. I was just like, they're going to wrestle to a draw. But I'm like, that's like, I can't even fathom.
I think they might wrestle to a draw. I thought the most shocking one, because it's not for the title, the most shocking one is Nigel McGuinness wins.
Right.
And then they have to do a rematch.
Right.
For the title, because then he could say, I beat the world champion. So that would be cool too.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think Nigel has to win or it's a draw. I don't think Danielson beats it.
Yeah, it's that I can't see him beating him cleanly, but he is the world champion. So, but they also have a built-in reason why he lost, right? Like he's injured. So I don't know. I think now I don't know. I thought it was going to. It's tough. I'm not sure. I think it might be. I think a draw makes sense now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, and it just, and then of course, McGuinness could go like, "Oh, I want my rematch." Or, you never beat me, I never beat you, and then Danielson could be like, screw it, we tried. Like there's so many ways you could do with it after.
Or they can do it again with like full hype the next time, knowing that it's gonna happen. Right, which right now is just Danielson show up.
Yeah, just to a draw. Danielson gets his neck surgery a year and a half from now. It's at whatever the big pay-per-view. Or, you can hype it. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, because Danielson hasn't said he'll retire after he loses the title. He just says he's going to stop being full time.
Full time, correct. So, so much.
It's gonna be fun. I like it. I like that. Yes, they haven't done a great job on the actual build for it, because it was kind of weird that Daniel McGuinness was just like, no, I talked to Tony Khan, I have the match. Like, you could have done it anytime then. Why did you not do it like 6 months ago? But I like that there's a lot of intrigue and you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what the match is going to be like. Is it going to be, it reminds me a little bit of when Shawn Michaels came back when he was retired and he came back against Triple H, and it was a street fight and he wore jeans, and like the storyline going into it was like, we don't know what he's going to wrestle like. And I remember thinking like, it might be a bad match. Like maybe he can't wrestle like he used to. And then it was great. Right. So that it kind of has that feeling like you don't know what it's going to be like. Is Danielson hurt so he can't have a good match? Is McGuinness, out of the ring for too long so he can't have a great, or are they going to go in and like kill it and have like an awesome 20-minute match? Like I have no idea.
They're going to kill it.
I think they probably will. I think they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't think they could kill it. Honestly,
they could both be 3/4 of the way dead in the way that they work together. Like seriously, they just know each other. Like this is going to be up there with like, this is going to be like a Brett and Shawn type match. Like I know that there was more to their story, but like, just guys that have been in the ring together a bajillion times,
Yeah.
like,
I do think they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't think it was going to be great.
Also true. Yeah, they're.
I think they both feel like it's going to be great, and that's why they're doing it. And I'm excited for it.
I'm very excited.
I do have to watch their other two matches because I've heard nothing but good things. So.
And you will not be disappointed. They are off the charts. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up, sir?
No. It's been definitely an interesting week. There's so much going on. There's a lot of we don't know what's going to happen. Like the Grand Slam card we said seems pretty predictable, but you still don't know actually what's going to happen in the matches. So like that's pretty cool. I do feel like everyone I hate the saying, but everyone for the last year has been like restore the feeling to AEW, like whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think it feels like it's back. Like it feels like not the AEW of old, because everyone's like it should be the AEW of old. The AEW of old in 2019 had like Joey Janela in a main event. So like you were excited to see it because it was new, but like it's better to have Danielson in the main event, like 100% better.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's like the old eight, but it feels exciting and fun and cool, and I wanted to see what's happening, and I'm excited for it.
Agreed. It's just we talk about it every week. There's this air of, the back in the day feeling of you really don't know what's going to happen, and we're actually due for a wild card. Tony hasn't thrown us a wild card in a long time, so Grand Slam might be where we get, maybe Nigel does pin. We haven't had one since what was Action Andretti the last one?
I think so, yeah, and that didn't really go anywhere really.
It helped him.
It helped him, but
yeah.
So the only other thing I wanted to say, and I'm not going to turn it into a huge thing, is like we talked about how it's cool that there's two companies, there's AEW and there's WWE, and like people were talking about how this TV deal is going to make AEW profitable because it's just a big deal, and that's great. And WWE is obviously super profitable. Like people are so mad all the time, like on the internet and in podcasts and whatever. Like we haven't had two. And I'm not saying AEW is on the level of WWE because WWE is on its own level.
Oh, right? Yeah.
But we have two very successful North American wrestling companies where people can go back and forth and work, with the people they want or for the money they want, kind of whenever they want to. Yep. That hasn't happened in 40 years because when WCW was big, in the 90s, or 96, 95, 96, WWF was almost bankrupt. And then when WWF got big in the late 90s, WCW was almost bankrupt, and then it shut down. Like we haven't had two huge companies like this being this successful where there's we talked about it. There's wrestling Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, pay-per-view. Like this hasn't happened in our lifetime, really. So don't be mad all the time. Like just watch the shows that you like to watch. If you don't like to watch a show, don't watch the show. Go off the internet. I found it myself. Spend less time on the internet with like people who are mad at everything, because like you're gonna find something you like. If you don't, that's the other great thing about they're doing a lot of companies. You could hate WWE and still have a ton of wrestling to watch. You could hate AEW and still have a ton of wrestling. You could hate both of them and still have TNA and New Japan and whoever. Like there's so many things to watch. Don't spend your time watching things that make you mad or that you hate.
Yeah, you should never hate watch anything. That's just dumb.
Like, I mean, you kind of had to in 2016 when WWE was the only show around, but it's not anymore. So you can watch the shows that you like. You can hate AEW. That's cool. Just don't watch it. Don't watch it. That's fine. Like,
agreed. Yeah, it's a good time for talent. It's a good time to be a fan. It's just all around. There's no reason to be negative all the time.
There's no reason negative all the time. There's no reason to be positive all the time.
Well, I was gonna say that's the other thing too. Don't be a fanboy either. That's literally what I was just gonna say.
None of us work for AEW or WWE. Like I don't have to promote them. Like that's not my job. So if I think something sucks, I think it sucked, and I think something's cool, I think it's cool. That's TV.
Yeah, when we started this, you know, it was 2-3 years ago now, whatever it was, about to be 3 years, 2.5 years. You know, we would just bust jokes on like, oh, they had so and so, like, and then so and so turned out to be a star, like, you know, like the famous Brian Cage. We
Yeah.
talk junk on Brian Cage weekly. Like, who the hell's that guy? Da, 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 da. Well, look what he turned into. Like,
Yeah.
you
He's
know,
doing a great job.
but it also gave us something to talk about too. Like, again, maybe we were a little hard on Brian Cage, but we also didn't know who he was and what he was capable of.
Right.
And learning that was, again, not a knock at WWE, but with it being the only game in town, that's what I got away from. Like, I knew who everybody was. There was nothing new and exciting anymore. Like, I would have much rather have AEW exist and watch Brian Cage, who I didn't know, and learn, you know, like, oh, he's this, he's that, or, you know, or see this woman who I've never seen before and learn, like, they're like super technical, you know. It was fun learning that again, and how people could see that as a negative is just beyond me. Like, you know,
you can be a fan of a show or a sports team or a wrestling company, and that doesn't mean you have to love every single thing that they do.
100%.
And if you don't like it, you don't watch that segment and you watch the rest of the show. And if you start hating everything on the show, stop watching the show.
It's time to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And if you love everything on the show, that's cool. You can love everything. But because someone else doesn't like it, that's fine. Doesn't mean you can like it. I can, you know, mock the Young Bucks or hate Chris Jericho. But if you think the Young Bucks are cool or love watching Chris Jericho, go for it. I don't care. Like,
yeah, I mean,
don't let anything anybody says take the fun out of it for you either. Like, just enjoy it.
Yeah, you're not here for more than a breath in the wind, you know. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, everything's too short.
This is a really cool time to be a wrestling fan. If you wanted to, you could watch multiple wrestling shows every single day of the week. And
That's insane.
Yeah. And if you hate one of them, if you don't like TNA or AEW or WWE, you could still watch multiple wrestling shows because there's so many of them. So it's cool. It's really fun.
So it is. And it's, what a time. On that note, make sure to like, subscribe, and share on all social media. We are at Elite City Pod. Also on YouTube now, make sure to leave a comment, hit the like button. Wait. And smash the bell, smash the like button, hit the bell.
I don't know what you smashed. You smashed something.
Yeah.
Either way, you know what to do. You're on YouTube. Yeah. You're cool. You're hip with it.
All those things. And that's about it. So we will see you next week. Until then, enjoy Grand Slam and enjoy Collision tomorrow. And have a good weekend, everybody. Until next week. Later.